Coach David Hood with TigerNet.com, and it was kind of obvious you didn't need a mic out there today. How have you settled in with this defense, and how have you gotten to know your players?
It's a process. To me, it's just about daily. At this time of the year, you're with them, a lot, with the meetings, but you're just trying to, in the weight room in the mornings, on the off days when we're not practicing, just a chance to connect. You see things on film, you're able to reinforce, challenge, motivate. I think those are important times. Obviously, the time I spent, when I first got here, getting to know them, laying that foundation relationally was big, and then gave each one of those guys different books to read for different things, and just to be able to follow up with that, and just to be able to continue to pour into them as a man, and then just making sure that they're doing the little things right, preparation-wise, things you see on film, and be able to reinforce more than anything is really the response, how they handle, being corrected, those are all just, to me, relational things, because when you build that trust with the players, then when those times come, the response is different. So to me, that's really what this is really for, as well as the obvious of building the scheme, knowledge and understanding, and that's a process that right now we're still installing, and we'll have new install again, for our next practice on Friday. So those are just things that you're just doing at the same time, build relationships, build knowledge of the system, and build confidence. And right now, that's about this team needs to build, all those things.
When we talked to Wade Woodaz, he said that the first thing you told them was, we're going to play with great effort and we're going to stop the run. How much when you evaluated Clemson's tape last year was the run, stopping the run, the glaring issue?
Yeah, it was an issue. The numbers don't lie. You watch the film doesn't lie, and so it became, a reoccurring theme each week. And we go through and you have, you do your, we call them your cut-ups that are made up by plays and by calls. And then you also organize them by explosive plays that you give up. And when we had all those explosive runs, just the misfits in the run game and not being, gap sound, and for whatever reason, and that we go through, we had 4 different categories to say, okay, why do we feel this, play was the result that it was in a negative way? So, and then identify those and group them that way, and then go back and try to make sure that we're doing a great job drill-wise of getting those things correct. Obviously, it's a different scheme, but you also have a lot of the same players, so you want to just make sure that, a lot of things I felt like were just, just guys out of position. And like I said, it's not about pointing fingers on that. It's just trying to say, okay, this is why this play occurred. And we got to make sure that we get these fixed, because obviously some of them are just fundamentally, you got so many gaps. Every defense has gaps you got to defend. And so you got to be very, very gap sound, and you got to be very physical at the point of attack. But the biggest thing is just making sure you get your cleats in the ground, you're set, you're ready to play, and you have great knowledge of what you're supposed to do. So if you're not quite sure what you're doing, you'll be out of position, and then against elite athletes, you have no chance to tackle them in space. So it's kind of all the above kind of things. But I think the glaring thing was, the gap fits were not consistent, and that's something even again today, all the drills that we do from individual to group to team have to align with that.
It seems Will Vandermoor, by the way, Clemson Insider. It seems like the theme out there this whole spring is tackling. It's very important. You're emphasizing that. Can you speak to that, and how do you fix that?
Yeah, well, so we talk about, we have 3 DNA. I think I mentioned this when I first got here. Takeaways, tackling, and effort. It's a simple formula. That's our DNA for our defense, and obviously the second one of those is tackling. Tackling fundamentals to me showed up on film. And we've been talking about the things that stuck out. Tackling was the top of the list, but that also comes when you're out of position. You miss those tackles. When you don't have your feet in the right spot. So much is about foundationally getting. We're going to close space. We're a shoulder tackle team. We're going to close space. We want to be able to get in position to scallop. We're close to the back. We talk about stepping in the Madden circle, which is being able to be within the yard of the ball carrier, stepping with that near shoulder, and then properly finishing. So those have been the emphasis. And so we try to isolate each one of those areas for different drills, and we just do them over and over and over again. And so you want to have a great foundation with the fundamentals of that, and then you want that to carry over into the group work, and then obviously eventually into the team. We had some live reps today. First time we've had live reps this entire spring. So that's when it really kind of shows up. you really can't tell for sure how much progress you're making. Obviously, it's way too early to tell, but at the same time, it's just about breaking down the fundamentals of tackling and making sure we have visual for it. We show them, different PowerPoints for each one of the phases of those things they just described, and then you put them in those positions to go do it, and then you watch those films. We watch with our players. We watch those tackling drills, and obviously you're critiquing them throughout the process of grading film. And so missing tackles, even in space, like for me, we don't do a lot of live tackle. I don't care where you're at. You're going to live tackle some, but you're not going to do it, all the time. And so that's why tackling in space with your, we call it thud tempo or tag tempo, which we call tracking here, is critical. And so we call it accountability for when they don't do it right. They don't finish in the right position in space, because that leads to missed tackles when it's live. So you're trying to maximize those opportunities during spring ball. So a lot of layers to it. As you notice, it's a huge priority, and it will be the entire spring.
Larry Williams, TigerIllustrated.com. You said when you're not sure what you're doing, you're out of position. Based on your evaluation of, extensive evaluation of last year, how much did you determine needs to be simplified so they are more sure?
I think that was a theme, and it aligns with what I believe. We're a simple system, that relies on the ability for the players to have, a mastery of what we're doing schematically. So then you can now spend the time working on technique and fundamentals in practice instead of just trying to teach scheme all the time. So that's just a philosophical difference of what we're going to be doing here now. And then also even the tackling piece. You spend way more time on tackling when that's your focus, when you're not spending as much time on scheme. And then also you get to be able to teach your guys how to play the game. You teach them to anticipate situational football, anticipate the things you're going to see out of the offense, the backfield sets, and reading what they're doing and being able to study that instead of just spending all your time just trying to make sure you know the next call and how to execute that call. So when you have less things that you do, that allows you to spend more time on technique and fundamentals and more time on teaching them how to play the game and how to anticipate what the offense is going to do through film study and preparation. So we're a much simpler defense and by design, but that's what we do, and I believe in that. And I think you want to get the guys to play extremely hard, extremely physical. That becomes the focus, and then the scheme is just fundamentally sound. And then you obviously do a great job of disguising things so that they can't get a beat on you defensively, and that's what we're going to do.
Don Summers, WSPA TV. What does Ben Boulware bring to this coaching staff, his relatability to the guys? He was one of them not too long ago. It seems like he's kind of in his element working with those linebackers.
He truly is. I think what he brings is he brings a toughness. He brings just a mindset that you want in all your backers. I think, if you walk through this building, he's all over the walls, and that's pretty cool, both in pictures and the storytelling that's done with video and some of the scripts on the wall. And so I think there's immediate respect from your guys, and they can watch him play. You can watch the cut-ups and watch his own highlights of him making plays in critical times and in big stage and at some of the biggest opportunities and moments in this program's history. So when you have that kind of guy in the room, it's great for me. So, and it also allows me to be able to go from room. I've been in every single position meeting room at one point already in the start of spring ball, and that's by design. And but just having been here, man, I love his mindset. He's learning the system too, so I'm teaching him everything, and he's a sponge with all that. But he's very smart, but he's got an edge about him, and that's what I love. And our linebackers have got to be lead, and they got to be able to produce. That's the two key things I want our guys: leadership and production out of our linebackers. And he had both as a player, and he's demanding that of these guys, and he's really tough on them. But you can be really tough on a guy when he knows you care about him, love him, and are going to be able to prepare him for life and the things that matter most. So he's holding his guys at a high level of accountability, and he brings the toughness to that position in which we desperately needed.
Going through the processes of these practices, what have you seen as far as like a pleasant experience that's been going on that's made you happy to see as far as a coach?
Yeah, I think I even said this to Coach Sweeney earlier today. I just think there's a really high care factor from this group, which is awesome. And the desire to want to be great and want to be special and want to be an elite defense is really, really strong. Now we got to get them there. We got a lot of work to do to get to that point. But I think that's number one. Number two, they practice really hard. The effort piece to me is huge. It's the one thing you completely control because nobody can decide how hard you're going to play except for you. And they're buying into that. They're practicing really, really really hard. And I think the other thing is we've got some talented players, you know, at all three levels, up front, at backer, and in the secondary, you know. But we got to find the best, you know, group of guys, and we're going to play a bunch of guys by design. That's what I want to be able to do, and I think that's going to be big for us, you know, in games and throughout the length of our season. So, but I think those two things stick out the most. And the final thing is I do feel like that we have a team that has the ability to be a physical team. You know, I don't think we're as physical as we needed to be in this past season at critical times, especially against the run. But I think this is a group that is going to buy into that. I think Ben's going to be a big part of that in the linebacker room, and then obviously at all three levels as well. So we're just going to really, you know, do a really good job of growing that desire to want to be a physical team, so it shows up on game day.
Quick advisory, Khalil Barnes and Avion Terrell are out front. If some folks like to go off and speak with them, but we'll continue in here as well with Coach Al.
Some early thoughts on Sammy Brown and Wade Woodhouse?
Yeah, I think, you know, Wade's our leader. I think that's been awesome to see. You know, that's sometimes a tough component to develop if it's not there. He naturally has it. He's earned the respect of his teammates to speak. You know, I say you got to earn the right to speak, you know, in that role to be able to challenge and motivate a teammate, especially when things aren't going the right way or a guy's not, you know, upholding the standard. And so I've seen that out of him. I've seen just a strong desire to want to learn and grow. I think Wade just needs a ton of reps of playing in the box. He can run and he can hit. I told him this just this morning, but I want to see him continue to study and prepare and just grow as a linebacker with reads and keys and getting off blocks and playing in space and so on. And then Sammy, to me, is very, very naturally instinctive in the box. You know, I think that's it showed up early in our thud periods and then even in today in the live periods. I mean, some guys just have that knack just to be able to be in all that, you know, mess that's in the linebackers and in front of them with the D-line and the O-line, everything coming at you. He just finds a way to get to the ball. So, and he's also a good tackler. You know, I think his wrestling background is big a part of that as well. But I just think that he has a lot of natural talent. He just has a high ceiling to me that has a lot of room to grow. And I think his opportunity for growth is going to be tremendous because he really, really cares a whole bunch, practices super hard, takes hard coaching really, really well, and he's a very, very intelligent guy. So he's got a chance to be a really, I think he's got a chance to be a great player. And he's got tremendous work ahead of him, like we all do, but I got big expectations for both those guys.
Setting the edge seemed to be a consistent issue last year for them. What's your sort of evaluation of that? And will help? I mean, do you think, what do you think he can bring to the edge that they didn't have last year?
Yeah, I think just, you know, structurally, you know, I think you can see that when you watch film, you know, not having an edge many times, you know, cost us, you know, last season and gave up several of those explosive plays. So that to me is, you know, you go back and say, okay, was it, you know, a schematic issue? Was it a talent issue? Was it a technique issue? Was it, you know, a poor effort? But bottom line is we have to structurally address that. And so that's what's a big part is on every one of our calls, somebody is the edge of our defense. And we got to make sure we're doing a great job of playing with technique and doing our job. And so even today, you know, it was when we did it the right way, you know, we got the great result. If you don't, you get a negative result defensively. So I think that's about being disciplined. It's about being physical as well. But it also goes back to saying when you know exactly what you're doing, that confidence is high in your knowledge of your scheme and where you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to take on that block. It's going to allow you, I think, to do a better job of setting an edge. And so, because when I do my job and set an edge, and the guys come from the inside with great effort and great angles are going to get to the ball. And so we're really, really emphasizing that as well. So, you know, you eliminate explosive plays by great execution and great effort, you know. And so to me, that's really going to be big for us. But when you talk about having edges to your defense, that's really more about just executing the scheme because most calls, someone's supposed to have it. But at the same time, you know, to me, it's how you get to that point, you know. And so we're going to make it a huge priority to make sure that we always have an edge to our defense, and the guy that's got that responsibility does his job.
And then will help.
this?
Yeah, Will to me is known him for a long time, being from Indiana, and see him grow and develop. You know, he's a big young man. You know, he's a big man. He's probably 265 pounds and just has so much length to him and so much toughness. He lives in that weight room. He's doing extra stuff all the time. Love his motor, high care factor. Just awesome young man. Really excited he's here. Really thrilled to be his coach. And man, I've seen him mature and grow so much in the last few years. It's been awesome to see. And I'm glad he's here. And I think that he's going to help us a lot. And he's going to have a big role for this team. And he's going to help us be a special defense.
Jason Priester, Clemson Insider. What have you seen from Jeremiah Alexander early in spring practice?
Yeah, so I think today was a big day for him. A couple packages that we put in for the first time that he was going to be in a key role in those, and so I feel like that he's a really good football player, trying to figure out where he best fits. I think that's kind of a big goal here for spring football. Another one that just one of the two new guys that we brought in here that has a tremendous desire to want to play. He's always in here doing something extra. Comes in here on the weekends on his own, which is awesome to see. He's always studying film, asks really good questions. Has a good football IQ. Is a very strong guy and has some really good physical traits. So I'm excited about Jeremiah. I think he's just got to continue to work and develop. He's obviously learning a new system, like all these guys are, and I think that'll be big for him, his ability to transfer that to the field. So, but another guy that's going to do great things in our program.
Aaron Carter of Greenville News. Wade Wood has shared that new tackle Corey Gibson after the big pass breakup on day one of spring practice. How have the guys kind of responded to your fiery side that comes out throughout times throughout?
Well, I mean, I just think they take on your personality. I think that's how it works, and just I love what I do. I feel blessed to be a coach and be in this position. It hurts a lot more afterwards and the next day than it used to as you get a little bit older, but at the same time, it doesn't take away from getting after with the guys and getting after them when they need it, from a correction or accountability perspective, or just celebrating with it, and I am more careful of my teeth than I used to be, but that is something when you jump on somebody, I'm always trying. It's kind of nice to have those things on their helmet now, so that protects my teeth, I just want to be able to, let them know, hey, we want to play with passion and energy, and I can't just talk about it. I got to be about it. And I think our assistants as well. We had a big play the other day where we caused a fumble during the inside. I mean, you just saw the whole coaching staff just explode onto the guys and coaching every rep and just flying around as coaches and getting these guys to play that way. And they're just, to me, there's an intensity and a passion, a fire you got to have to play defense. And so that's the way I coach, and that's just the way it's going to be. So I'm glad I get to do what I do because it's pretty fun.
You've had the Husky and the Lion. What are you going to call it here?
It's the Tiger.
The Tiger. Okay.
It's the Tiger.
Do you have anybody that you've kind of already scouted? How many there?
Yeah, we got several guys. Shelton Lewis is a guy that's been there as well. Tink is a guy we had been on offense, and now he's on defense, and we're getting a chance to see him. He plays both sides. Actually, goes on both sides during our team periods. He's got some good reps there. Khalil Barnes is another one that's going to play some there. He's not played there yet, but he's played there in the past, and he's going to be. He just walked in the room, and so. But he's a guy that's going to get some reps there as well. So, but it's an important position for us in our defense. But yeah, it's the nickel position, and when we get into third downs, we call it the star. But on base downs, it's a Tiger position. And like I said, we've had different names for it in other places, but it allows us to be able to do a lot of things schematically that are really critical to our system. And we got several guys that are vying for playing time there.
Talk about the talent having all three levels. You coached at IU, coached at Penn State. How does the talent, you think, stack up here compared to what you've seen?
Yeah, I think that I like it. I like the guys we have. I think it's different places. Penn State obviously just playing in the playoffs, and obviously Clemson playing in the playoffs this past year as well. And that's the standard. That's where we want to be, and that's where we expect to be, and that's where this program wants to be in a position to win a national championship every time we take the field each season. So to me, we have the potential to be at that level, in my opinion. Right now, it's about developing the talent that we have and having depth, and that's going to be a major priority. I think right now our first group is really on par to that. I think we got to get more guys at each position to step up and be developed to allow us not to have a drop off when one group comes out or one position group individual comes out and guy takes its place. So to me, when I say ones and twos, they got to be ones, and so we got to have two guys at every position we feel like can play at that consistent level, and that we're not to that point right now. And so, but I do feel like that the potential is there for sure. And so I'm excited for the guys that we do have, and I'm excited. A guy like Amari, I mean, he's coming here as a freshman and does not look like a freshman, and just doesn't play like a freshman. But there are times when he does, So, but there's times when it's like, wow, that guy's really different. So, but that's exciting. But at the same time, there's a bunch of guys that have been here for a couple of years even that need to be taking their game to another level, and that's going to be our job as coaches this spring, this summer, and into training camp. Because in order for us to be at the level we want to be at defensively, we got to have a lot more guys be developed. So I'm excited about the talent we have here. We just got to develop it.
Kind of goofy question, but like raspy voice. I remember you telling us about your vocal cord care regimen. I guess what do you actually do?
Oh yeah, so I basically have. They call it, I got calcium deposits on my vocal cords, so there's really nothing they can do about it. So I have I use honey and lemon and tea after practice that they make for me, and then I use these different throat lozenges that have honey in them. Honey's kind of the common denominator to try and get them to where I can, it usually comes back in a day or two, and then I lose it, and then it comes back, and I lose it, comes back, so, but it is what it is. Technically it's called nodules on your vocal cords, so, but they can't, nothing you can do about it. So not life-threatening, it's just a little hoarse, but a little inconvenient, but doesn't affect anything.
Are there any players that have surprised you? You're like, okay, he's better than I thought he would be, or have kind of caught your eye early on?
I would say Will Help to me is his growth in the last few years has been impressive. Even from because we played against him, when I was at both Indiana and then at Penn State, and his growth from his freshman year to last year was extensive, I feel like. And even just from then, even till now, he just continues to develop. So that's kind of like, because he had a chance. I'd not coached against the guys here. I'd obviously physically seen him in person, and that's impressed me, which is an awesome thing. So I think that, a guy that probably the biggest one that might stick out to me is I do feel like that Khalil Barnes is a guy that I know he has had success in the past, but he's a lot faster than I thought he was. There was some bursts on film, watch, I'm like, okay, I don't know if I even saw that, even during the season this past year, so, and that's exciting to me because I really feel like that has to be, whether it's a Tiger position or a safety position, I think Ronan as well. And I think he is really hasn't played a lot in the safety's position, but he has flashed to be like, wow, this guy's got something special. He's got length and athleticism. As a matter of fact, I had to go back and really watch special teams to get a chance to really see him play in games. He played just a little bit on defense last year, so that's been a pleasant surprise. That's a guy we need to be able to step up. And I think several guys. I know that the obvious names. T.J. Parker, obviously a special player, but also practice habits. I've been impressed by his practice habits. You can be a guy that plays well on game day, but man, I want to see a guy that brings it every day when nobody's around, and the work ethic on the weekends, and just I'm just big in what are you doing extra. If you just do what you're supposed to do, yeah, that's good, but it's not enough. And so I want guys that do extra, and TJ Parker to me has stuck out as that kind of guy, and I could go on with several guys with that, but I want to see more of that from everybody, and I think we got a chance to see that this spring, and I'm hoping these guys will respond, and so far they have, but it's obviously easier when it's just getting started. Obviously when it just keeps wearing on and on and on, who can maintain that, it's going to be big.
Chapo Fowler with the State, when Dabo had his intro presser, he said he wanted you to kind of be the head coach of the defense. What does that term kind of mean to you when you hear that, and how does you think that helps like an actual head coach maybe free up more time and space during a game when you have a head coach of the defense right next to you?
Yeah, I think it's important, and I like to give the coordinators that mindset when I was a head coach, especially as a defensive-minded guy with the person that was in charge of the offense, and to be able to allow them to kind of just run that side of the football as if that was, their soul group, which is what it is, So, but at the same time, he doesn't spend a lot of time in our meetings, and that's, that's fine with me, So it's just at the end of the day, I'm accountable for what product we put on the field and how we practice and how we're prepared, and he trusts in that, and so I do appreciate that responsibility he's given me, and so. But at the same time, I know it comes with a lot of weight in a good way, and we got to get this defense fixed. I mean, it's not been to the standard. I mean, you can go back and look at the numbers; they are what they are of the past, and they're really, really good. And then obviously it wasn't that way recently, and that's what I'm here to do. And the players, they understand that, and I want them to feel that as well. And we all have to feel that, And so coaches, players, everybody. It's about we. It's not one person. So, but creating that buy-in as the head coach of the defense and treating them this way, and being able to create the culture you want. We're kind of really establishing that right now with how we're going to practice, how we're going to guys understand of how this looks, and when it doesn't look right, what we're going to do, how we respond when things don't go the way you want them to go. So that to me is what we're doing right now, and that's what the head coach of the defense has to do. And you got to be tough on the guys, and you got to be able to praise them, but you also got to be able to tell them the truth. And sometimes that truth is not what they want to hear sometimes, but to me it's how you do it and the relationship you have with that person that you're talking to. So that's why I said in the beginning those relational pieces are critical. And so but that's what I take as part of my responsibility, is to build that culture, build those relationships, so I can really motivate these guys and push them to be great every day.
You mentioned giving the players books to read to help connect with them. I guess what are the books you often give them? Is it a different book for different players?
Yeah, so basically, I'm a big, person of faith, and obviously this program aligns with that, which is awesome. And so a lot of guys that are kind of really trying to figure some things out in that area. I gave, Tony Dungy, I'm a huge, fan of his, and have a good relationship with him, and so much respect for what he did. He's written an uncommon devotional book that I gave to a bunch of our guys that are trying to grow in that area, which was awesome. And also Mark Batterson is an author that wrote several books, and one of them's called All In, one of them's A Circle Maker, and one's Chase the Lion. And so based on where these guys are at in their lives personally, I gave them those books. Relentless is a book by Tim Grover that was the one that trained Kobe and Michael Jordan and D. Wade. And so I gave some guys that book as well. And so just different books to be able to help them personally, spiritually, motivationally, relationally, for me to connect with them. And so be able to give them those books to read, and then now you be able to chance to talk about what they're learning from that. And I text the guys as well. I'm a big John Gordon guy. I really have always believed in the way he led things. And he has a book called Training Camp that I use a lot of principles from. I text our guys, and I individually text all of our defensive guys on a consistent basis to be able to connect with them and send them things to try and build this mindset that we want to have as a program, and how we want to be able to handle and chase after greatness every single day. And I'm big on that. And I want these guys to be wired that way, and I want to hold them to that. And I get them to be able to tell me what they want, then I hold them to those things. And when any time that their lifestyle or their actions don't align with that goal, then I got to address it, and I'm not afraid to do that. And so I just think that allows me, because I believe this. I believe that we're products of the books we read, the music we listen to, and who we hang out with. It's what you fill your mind with. It's who you associate with. That's who you become. And so I'm helping them fill their minds with things that are going to help them become a better man, which I believe is going to translate to help them become a better football player, because their habits are going to align with the things that are going to allow you to be special in this life. So all that stuff goes together. And that's just part of who I am, and I've done that a lot of places I've been, and I believe that and these guys here really, really respond to it, because I think there's an alignment culturally to what they've chosen this place for, and Coach Sweeney obviously at the forefront of that, and the culture he's built, back even some things that I believe in. I mean, he's got them plastered all over the walls. It's very aligned with the way I even have talked to my players for the last 30 years. So that's exciting for me, and so it's not. I don't try to repeat the things. I just try to be an extension of the messages that he has. And I always tell our guys, hey, if Coach Sweeney felt this was big enough and important enough to put on the walls of this building, I want to make sure, I take pictures of a lot of those things, and then we talk about them, because sometimes you can walk past them every day and take it for granted, and so I don't want these guys to do that, because there's a lot of great stuff that's been posted that I think is great reminders about what it takes to make yourself an individual that's going to be chasing after being special and elite in this life and in football. So that's what things I use.
I know you've been very football focused, but just living down here, what's it been like? Have you gone to any real good restaurants or just like the Clemson experience in general, like the living part of stuff?
Yeah, I know this isn't probably a sexy answer, but I love Zaxby's, okay? And so we didn't have Zaxby's up there, not much in the north. And so when I was at Ole Miss, I used to like it and didn't have them a lot of the place I live. So, but no, just I've been several places. It's funny, though, because I literally, with my wife, she's been with our daughter having our second grandchild. My wife's been spending quite a bit of time with her, which is awesome. But so my son, so he basically just says we go somewhere to eat, and we hop in the car together, get in the GPS. I don't even know where we're going sometimes. We get there and we eat. So a lot of great places to eat. I love the weather. Weather's awesome, and that's a huge perk being here. I love that there's water everywhere, but just it's a beautiful place. That's one thing several people said to me before, since I took the job obviously without even coming here, but I was told prior to getting here that it was a beautiful place, and it is obviously. So I love that. So yeah, just a lot of great restaurants.